Okay, Tico, please.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar for English language teachers, which is organized by organization English Teacher Space in Georgia. I'm Tina Tindadianidze, the member of ETS, and today I will be chairing the session. We have two presenters today. Elene Tsatsua, I'm a PhD student, has been teaching English at Ivane Javashvili Tbilisi State University for many years. She's also a teacher, trainer, and the founder of the organization English Teacher Space, which aims to implement educational projects all over Georgia. Her area of interest are connected to educational psychology, humanistic approaches in pedagogy, teacher-student motivation, professional development, as well as transformation and changes in education. And our dearest Nick Michelioudakis from Greece. Nick has been active in ELT for many years as a teacher, examiner, presenter, and teacher trainer. He has given seminars and workshops in many countries. Nick has written extensively on methodology. He is better known for his psychology and ELT articles. His area of interest includes student motivation, learner independence, teaching one-to-one, and humor. Now, before we start the webinar, please mute your speakers. You can introduce yourself in a chat box. You can also write comments, share your ideas, be active participants during the webinar. And I think Elene, you can start.
Okay, thank you, Tico. Thanks for introducing us. I would like also to tell you a few words about Tinatin or Tico. Tico is my close friend. We've been teaching English at university for many years. She's a great teacher, very motivated, and she likes her job a lot. So as for the webinar, I would like to inform you about just the stages that we're following. So I will represent 3 activities, and Nick will introduce or share with you 3 activities about storytelling. So the webinar will last for 1 hour and 10 minutes approximately. Certificates will be sent to you after you have filled in the questionnaire at the end of the webinar. So there you will have to answer 3 questions, just the easiest questions, and in order to just register that you have participated in the webinar. Well, let's start with storytelling. I would like to share with you the quote of the writer from the USA, Robert McKay. Storytelling is the powerful way to put the most powerful way to put ideas into the world. And that's really true. If we want to unfold our inner world, we really need to tell stories. And I always ask my students to focus on the process of storytelling, because this is the most enjoyable process. I mean, the stages when you create stories, not only product. Well, in my teaching experience, I have come across with some challenges. You know, some of the students are really reluctant to engage in storytelling because of the lack of motivation. Maybe they are so scared of knowing the limited vocabulary, or maybe poor grammar structures, etc. But if we teachers search for some interesting tools and motivating strategies, we can just help our students to be more engaged in storytelling. So I always tell my students that if you are interested in storytelling, you can just activate your 21st century skills like creativity, collaboration, empathy, respect self-regulation, sense of responsibility, self-autonomy. Storytelling also broadens the scope of imagination due to connecting images with concepts. It also provides intentional and accidental vocabulary learning. And above all, when we teach storytelling, we help our students to think in both languages. I mean, if we are not native speakers, for sure, and because students have to think in both languages, right? For example, in my case, in Georgian and in English. Well, I would like to start my presentation with the first activity, which I designed for young learners. You know, I am not the teacher of young learners, but I teach my daughter, who is 9-year-old, and I also teach voluntarily her friends. And I use a story creator, which is a great tool for young learners to get them motivated and engaged in this process. So this helps students to create stories online and boosts their self-confidence, independence, and ownership. And they feel at the end of this activity, I mean, when they create their own story online, they think that they own their own story. And now I will demonstrate how I do it. I need to add some of the participants. Okay, after I finish, Tico will provide you with the resources in the chat box. Here I will, now I will move to this imagineforest.com, which is a story creator, fantastic. And this agendaweb.org is the great web for teaching grammar and vocabulary. Now let's start. So, just a minute. Okay. Well, just a minute. Can you see the screen share, Tico? Can you tell me if you see the screen share now?
Yes, okay. Elena, everything is fine.
Okay, good, good. So this is a fantastic tool for young learners, where first you have to register on it, and then you have to you need to send invitation to your students in order to create a class. Well, I have created my class here. Like I have 3 students here, and then I start with brainstorming. You know, these are the activities based on challenges, and my students love challenges because when they, you know, even in Georgian they use this word challenge because it makes them more excited and more interested what comes next. So we're not going to just do these activities here because we don't have much time, but I would just show you how it works. This is a preparation stage for me before we start creating a story, and students can make up dialogues or can connect ideas with images in order to write a story. So this generates ideas of students in order to connect ideas and concepts. I mean, images and concepts. So here they can write dialogue. Well, I'm not going to write it at the moment because I have to do some very important things with you. So which is going to hurt the wizard. So they can write here the dialogue, create a dialogue. And there are some other very, very interesting activities which prepare students for story writing, story creating. Now let's move on forward and I will show you how to create a story. Well, these are the stories that we created with my students, but let's start from this. First, students need to create a title. But you know, I have experienced that it's not easy because in general, young learners don't know what to write about. So first we can, or the teacher can just show photos. You know, there are plenty of photos here. There are a lot of opportunities, a variety of ways to choose photos. Here are some sections: animals, maybe fairy tales, fantasy, horror, music, and etc. You can also find here random photos like this and use it as a cover cover photo. Okay, I decided to choose this one. So what would be the title of the story? So can you write in the chat box if you think of the title of the story? Hungry Dragon, fantastic. Dragon, fantastic. Okay, okay, good. So remember, this is not the page where we are going to write the story. This is just the cover photo. So now I have to click next. And here I would like to just tell you a few words about these 4 buttons. This is the save button. Here you need to choose the pages where you will write the text with your students. This is the keyword that we can use in the text, and this is the inspiration button. Now let me show you. Okay, in order not to confuse our student, let's choose again this dragon photo, and we can, for example, start the story like what? So how can we start the story? Could you please write just a few words to begin the story, or then I will help you. Or we can also use here inspiration button. But you know, sometimes this inspiration button brings difficult solution. Once upon a time, there was, okay, I will copy it and put it here. Now I need your help. So if you volunteer, that's great. But Tiko, can you continue with the story? And please, Ms. Nino, could you please continue after Tiko writes?
Okay.
Now we're going to create a story. Okay, let me see. Okay, Naniko, thank you. I will add every. Oh my God, just a minute. Stuck, I think. Okay, I will write it. Okay, so do we have any other options? Okay. Okay, I will just add, he was a special dragon. Okay, good, thank you. He was a special dragon, a dragon who was crazy about sweets. Great. Okay, let's have another. He was dreaming about the food when a witch. Okay, thank you. Natia, can you continue, please? Omar or Shorena, you have to continue, please. Which cast it? Okay. On him. So he decided, okay, Nick, I'm sorry, I omitted some of them. He started having unusual cravings. We can add this one, why not? Dragon. Okay, once upon a time there was a dragon and he was very, very hungry. I think we need here pizza. Nick, what do you think? It was a funny day. He was a special dragon who was crazy about sweets. He was dreaming about the food when a witch casted a spell on him. He started having unusual food cravings. Okay, we need some, actually, yes, comment. Yes, maybe he was pregnant. That's why he had the carvings. Okay, that could be. Just a minute. So we need another page here. Well, so thank you very much for a very, very nice ideas. So it means that we can add another page here. So we don't have time, but you just have an idea what comes next. Now it's time to publish our story. Let's imagine we have just written several pages. So in order to publish the story, we need here to write a few words about this dragon, okay? The story is about a hungry red dragon, I would say. Okay, we can, let's say that it is adventure story, maybe. We can publish it in our library, but before we can download it as a PDF file. So I will download it here right now. Okay. Just a minute. And publish in my library. So that's it. Now I'm going to here. You've got this file. Well, I'm done. Here you've got the file in chat box that is our collaborative story in PDF file. So this is a very, very interesting activity which students, by which students are very motivated and engaged. So I really advise you to try it with your students. So that was the first activity, guys. Now let's move further. You know, sometimes this I lost this one. I'm sorry. Okay. I will summarize the previous activity. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And really, our imagination equals with technology for me, and we need to boost creativity. Before I move to the second activity, I would like to draw your attention to the narrative structure of storytelling, you know. So I found this quote in Nick's article. It seems that inside our heads, there is a script about how stories should develop, and we tend to prefer stories which conform to this script. And truly, we really are designed the way we to retell the story, and which really makes it interesting. You know, I think we need to follow some of the stages. And in the second activity, which is called mini stories online or face-to-face, this activity helps to speed up students' imagination and creativity skill usage. I use this with my university students online in Zoom, and it really works. First, now we're going to watch the video. And let's think of the narrative structure of the video. And please, just a minute, let me push here. So Can you hear it, guys?
Yes, we can
Okay.
see.
Okay.
Well, you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. And you let her go. And you let her go. Oh, will you let her go?
Okay, very lovely story, right? Do you agree with me? Yeah, it's very lovely story. Just a minute, I need to move to my presentation. Okay, so in this very short video, we found that yes, really, this very short video says a lot about friendship with between different types of people, right? With this association with people's relationships, right? So here I follow the stages. Once upon a time, there was a lovely puppy called Bobby. He was intended to be adopted by one lady. One day, the patron arrived and decided to take him with her. However, it was not easy. The puppy made friends with the local horses on a farm. Because of that, Bobby escaped several times and visited his friend horse to inform him about adoption. The other day, Bobby found himself sitting in the back seat of the car, searching for his friend to rescue him. Finally, the horses on the farm heard about the adoption of Bobby. They broke out of the stables and encircled the car. Bobby jumped out of the vehicle and hugged his friend horse firmly. Well, when I ask my student to write this kind of story in the Zoom, they generate really interesting ideas and they stick to these three stages. Now, what I'm going to ask you is to write similar mini story in a chat box. Tico will send you or will just write in a chat this beginning of the story, but I will read it for you. Once upon a time, there lived an animal whose ambition was to join the select team of Clydesdale's horses. The only problem was that he was a donkey. So please, I ask you to write very brief story and follow these three steps, three stages. Once upon a time or one day, there was, because of that, something happened, and finally, what happened? Please, and let's enjoy reading each other's stories. Okay, thank you, Tico. Tico, you're also welcome to participate. And it's somehow connected to people's relationships, right? Well, it's a bit difficult for donkey to make friends with horses, but still he wants to make friends with horses. So how does he manage it to do? One day he met a person who heard about his ambition and said he would help him. But of course, there was a problem because he was a donkey. Because he was a donkey, okay? Finally, did he manage? But as we know, there is no boundaries when there is a will. Yes, but how? How can we just reach our goals? If you're if this is a donkey, because of that, the guy told the donkey that he would have to disguise himself if he was to be accepted in the team. So the horses would think he was a horse too. Oh, magic stick. We need a magic stick. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So is anybody going to write? He tried again and again, but people could immediately see through the disguise. Okay, Natia is writing. Thank you. Because of that, he trained a lot to look as if other horses, yes, to resemble the horses, right? To be accepted by the horses. Because of that, a magician took a pity for him and made a donkey into pony. Thank you, Nino. Great ideas. Great ideas. Okay, guys, thank you very much. We need to move forward because Nick is waiting. Okay, so the third activity that I'm going to share with you belongs to me. So it means that I just created this activity for my university students. In general, I like and I love to introduce values through English language teaching. And I always think that I need to teach more than subject, more than English. So that's why just a minute, downloaded this scenario from Facebook group. This was an educational group. I don't remember, but I like this scenario, you know. Well, we can see here fruits, which the mold from the rotten fruit spreads over to the good fruit, and both end up in the bad condition. So this is the kind of association which leads us to the relationship between people. So what happens when you surround yourself with people who don't build you up? Well, you become just like them. Well, this is also the very interesting plot of the story, could be. And I shared this scenario with my students. And now I'm going to read one of my students' stories here. I asked them to associate their example or maybe their friend stories, and they wrote as the mini stories in the comment area. Long ago, I had a great friend in my class. She was the only one who I loved much in my school because of her best personality traits. One day she left our school and went to another one, and so we lost connection. Years later, we met again, and to my surprise, she was completely changed. After having a conversation with her, I realized that she had become another person with no empathy at all. This is a good example of how people change in relations to bad friends and surroundings. Well, this is not my story, this is my student's story, and they really can find connections with this scenario. So values matter really in English language teaching. And now my request is to answer these questions. Question, what happens when you surround yourself with people who don't build you up? Could you please answer the question in the chat box? So how do you behave in this situation when you think that you do not really belong to that moment, to that place, but still you need and you are just, you have to be there? And what happens if you do not have the right person next to you? Okay, let me see your answers. Could you please write your answers? Feel self-conscious, yes. Feel depressed. That's true, said. Depends on what kind of situation you are. You feel depressed, unmotivated. Yes. So is it possible that that person will influence you or get an impact on you? Is it possible? So this is the constant negative thoughts. I do agree. Yes, thank you very much. And at the end of my lecture with my students, I asked them to write the summary of the values, and they told me that, just a minute, we need to be the person needs to be yourself, himself. Be more self-aware and love yourself, think critically, ask questions, speak up your own story. Well, these are the values that this scenario teaches us. Okay, so I'm not done yet because I need to present you Fagan's 6-step model in storytelling. I extend this scenario in storytelling in Google Docs, collaborative story. But before that, I introduce my students 6 steps, 6 components of these storytelling. Well, when we create a story connected to this scenario that I have just introduced or presented to you, I ask my student to include beginning of the story. They need to think of the hero, a goal, the hero's effort to reach the goal, complications, difficulties like climax, and resolution. Now, I will open Google Docs, Google document, and show you the story that Tico and I started writing, but we have not finished. And now we will demonstrate how to write a story in Google Docs collaboratively, in peers this time. I need to share first, I think. Just a minute. Okay, so do you see the screen share? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read the story, which is connected to the scenario that I have just introduced. Many years ago, Maria is the hero of the story. Maria used to live in a small town, where people used to be friendlier and more supportive than nowadays. Residents used to smile every time they met and greeted each other with courtesy. However, nothing remains unchanged in life. Well, I ask my students to write their names because I also need to visit their Google Docs in order to just check who contributed. One day, there appeared 2 strange people, a husband and a wife who started residing in the neighborhood. Everybody looked at them doubtfully for their mysterious behavior. They never got in touch with the community. So this was Tico's part. A year later, one Christmas morning, a deafening scream came out from inside their house. All the neighbors got extremely scared. Just in a minute, everybody gathered in front of their gate. The wife was throwing things out of the house, which her husband had burgled for a long time. Shortly after that, the man was imprisoned and the wife started living alone. Now I will demonstrate how how I write the other part of the story. Well, now I am thinking of how the story would continue. One day, Okay. This could be done by Elene. So, would you add anything, please? Would you continue the story before my paragraph?
Okay. Never. Anyway, let me think. She. Okay, why it is unbelievable.
Oh, that's okay. You can continue because so she knocked on the door, and after a few seconds, the woman opened it.
That's
Amazed. Okay. So and after her husband was arrested, she started living alone. And one day, Maria paid a visit to the woman who had never talked to anyone, The community, she knocked on the door, and after a few seconds, the woman opened it. Unbelievable, Maria was standing shockingly amazed. Okay, well, as far as her husband was a thief, I think that she also had the same habit, might have, and I would write the following. First, well, this is my ending. Well, that there was a woman in front of her wearing a necklace that Maria's mother had gifted on her 20th birthday. So she did not know, but her husband just burgled this necklace, and then that woman was wearing. So this is the end of the story. So what could be the resolution? So can you write maybe the ending of the story? What would be the reaction of Maria's? How would she react when she found out that her necklace was on her neighbor's neck, just wearing? Would she call for the police, or would she just forgive and say nothing and just went back home? Just a minute, I need to share my. So, would she? Maria. I think she would try to deal with the problem in private. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Thanks a lot. Call the police. Okay, good. Okay, so I have another just option for collaborative story writing in Google Docs. You can assign 4 students to work together. And also, I always ask my students to use Grammarly.com. Well, I would just summarize my presentation that neuroscience studies metacognitive skills, which proves that metacognitive skills in general challenge and stimulate brain neurons through storytelling. And surprisingly, when we connect with the character of this story each time, our neurons are coupling with the neurons of storytellers and the listeners, which provokes oxytocin, which is the hormone of happiness, and we really feel belongingness to the world. And the very important point for me is that in storytelling, both hemispheres of our brain are activated. For me, good storytelling is the act of kindness when we make other people feel happy, which provokes empathy and recognizes values. And if you want to change the world, you need to change your story. So this was all. Thank you very much. Now it's Nick's turn.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay, so let me get straight to the point here. All right, hello everyone. Can you all hear me? Yes, Helen, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Good, okay, good to hear that. So, thank you, Helen, for your presentation. My contribution is going to be 3 activities, and I hope it's not going to take me more than half an hour because I know that we are running late. So let's get on with it. So the first activity is called Complete the Story. And it's very straightforward. I'll give you the instructions and then you're going to see how it works. Students work in pairs. They read the story as you have prepared. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. But you leave out the last bit of the story. Okay, you leave out the last bit. The story is incomplete. So the last 2 or 3 sentences are missing. In pairs, students try to write a suitable conclusion. In this case, I'm going to ask you to write yourselves while working individually. And then they compare the conclusion with the original. That's it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the story and I'm going to read it out to you. And at the end, I want you to write 1 or 2 sentences in the chat box for how the story ends. Okay? 1 or 2 sentences. Here goes. Hammond was walking in the forest one day when he came across Gibbon sitting on the ground meditating. "What are you doing, Gibbon?" he asked. Gibbon didn't reply. "Why are you sitting in that ridiculous position?" Hammond persisted. Gibbon said nothing. "Answer me," said Hammond. "What do you hope to accomplish with this stupid behavior?" Gibbon said nothing. "Don't pretend you cannot hear me," said Hammond, now thoroughly annoyed. "I know you can. Why are you wasting your time in this way when there is so much to be done?" Gibbon said nothing. Hammond snorted in his irritation, looked around the clearing. "Listen," Gibbon, he said. "Can you hear the bird singing? It's sitting on that tree over there. It's very pretty. Open your eyes and see for yourself." Gibbon said nothing and didn't open his eyes. Hammond rattled the bag he was carrying. "Aren't you hungry, Gibbon?" he asked. "I've got some fruit in the bag. Would you like a piece?" That's it. Now, how does the story end? I want you to write 1 or 2 sentences, okay, in the chat box. Please do it now. Remember, the last thing is He rattles the bag. I've got some friends. Would you like a piece? Okay, so what do we have? Gibbon opened his eyes and grabbed the bag. He was so hungry, but the bag was empty. Or another possibility. Oh, shut up, said Hammond. Go away and annoy somebody else. Yes. Yes, please. I was speechless because of hunger. Gibbon opened his eyes and said, oh, no, thanks, I'm fasting. Okay, you get the idea. Your students are going to come up with lots and lots of different ideas. Now, don't you want to see the conclusion? Of course you do, especially after having written 1 or 2 sentences. Here it is. This is the conclusion in blue. Gibbon said nothing. At last, Hammond sighed and fell silent and sat down on the ground next to Gibbon. Together they listened to the sounds of the forest. Hello, Hammond, said Gibbon. And that's it. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. I love this story. And there is an idea behind it, yeah? The idea is, if you want to communicate with somebody, you have to respect them. You have to respect what they are doing, okay? So you cannot just barge in and reject them completely and then expect them to greet you or anything. So why do I like this story? There are 3 reasons. First of all, it's an integrated skills activity. Notice, students do 3 things. They read the story, they speak with each other because they do it in pairs, so they need to decide, okay? And then they do some writing as well. Great. Very importantly, this is the important point. It looks like a small thing. So what do you ask? You ask them to write 1 or 2 sentences. Normally, the reason why our students hate writing is because we ask them to write an essay. I don't want to write an essay. But if you ask me to write 1 sentence or 2 sentences, oh yeah, I can do that. Not a problem. And you can find many such short stories on the web. Okay. And of course, there is the element of curiosity. What was the ending? The students want to see how their ending compares with the ending of the story. Great activity, very simple. Let me move on to the next one. My next activity is very similar to Elena's activity. The difference is that, as you're going to see, it doesn't have the stages and the elements of the story. It's much simpler. Collaborative writing. Okay, here's what happens. Imagine students work in pairs. Okay, they look at the opening sentences on the next slide. So you give them the openings of the story. So you can give them 10 openings from 10 different stories. And each story is different. I'm going to show you 4 beginnings. They copy one of these. Okay, so imagine that they're sitting next to each other and they have 2 sheets of paper. So I copy the beginning of one story and my partner, say Ellen, she copies the beginning of another story. Okay. On the teacher's signal, they have to continue their story, their own story. Okay, they write 1 or 2 sentences. And then time is up. They finish with the writing. And then the idea is they swap the pages. So I get to continue Elena's story and she gets to continue my story. Mm-hmm. And then same thing again, and we swap again. All right, you'll see how it works in a minute. When the time is up, they need to swap stories with the partner. The partner has to continue the stories and then they have to continue the partners. That's how it goes. Let me show you how it works. First of all, let's have a look at the beginnings. So here are 4 beginnings. What is the genre in each case? What kind of a story are we talking about? Let's look at the first one. It was past midnight as John walked through the cemetery gate with a shovel in his hand. What kind of a story is this? Feel free to write in the chat. And the answer is, of course,
Horror.
horror. It's a horror story, yeah? Imagine ghosts and zombies, and vampires and danger and running. Okay. What about this one? Mary finished putting on her lipstick and looked at herself in the mirror. David had already rung her bell. Now, what kind of a story is this? Let's increase participation here. Okay. And the answer is, of course, it's a romantic story, right? So what do you, it's a first date, going out, boy, girl, flirting, kissing, things like that. Next one. The woman lay dead on the floor. It looked like suicide, but Detective Smith had his doubts. That's an easy one. And it is, of course, it's a detective story, right? So what do you expect? You expect suspects and clues and murders and guns and chases, that kind of thing. Last one. The sheriff walked into the saloon and looked around him. Nope, the man he was looking for was not there. So what kind of a story is this one? Yeah, it's a Western, of course, right? So we have cowboys, maybe Indians, we have guns, we have duels, we have whiskey, we have criminals, sheriffs, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we are going to choose the first 2. So I choose, let's say, the horror story, and Ellen has just chosen the romantic story, naturally. Okay, so let me, okay, let's have a look. So you prepare a Google document as before, and here it is. I hope you can see it, right? So you can see this is the horror story here, and this is the romantic story. So what I'd like Elena to do now, Elena, I want you to write 1 sentence continuing the romantic story. Remember, it's a first date. Okay. So David had just rung the bell, and I am going to continue the horror story. Okay, right under this, right under this. Okay, just 1 sentence. Okay, so you can see how the story continues. Okay, now, Ellen, I want you to, under my sentence, I want you to continue my horror story, and I'm going to continue her story. Okay. Okay. All right, good. Now, one more. So see what I'm going to, under this, you can continue the story, and I'm going to continue where you left off. Oh, how romantic. Okay. All right. We're not going to continue now, but you see how the activity works. All right. So let's read the romantic story. So Mary finished putting on her lipstick and looked at herself in the mirror. David had already rung the bell. She looked in the mirror again and thought she was beautiful. But how David? What would David look like, she thought. Obviously, they were not Facebook friends. She made a quick decision. She changed the top and put on another one, which was slightly transparent. Very naughty. There, now she looks sexier. She went to open the door, and all of a sudden she saw a bunch of flowers in front of her eyes. Oh, how romantic. You get the idea, okay? Now, I love this thing. So you have the two students working simultaneously, and they don't have to wait. While one person is working on one story, the other person is working on the other. Okay. Right. Yeah, it is. I've used it again and again, this activity, and it always works. It's amazing. Okay, so let me go back to my slides here. This was the second one. What I like about this activity is three things. First of all, I think somebody needs to mute the, okay. Students have a choice. So they get to choose the kind of story that they like. It can be the horror story or the detective story or the romantic story. It's a good thing if they have a choice. The second one is very important. Each step is a small one to take. Remember what I told you earlier, that how students, they hate writing because we ask them to write a lot. And now they only have to write one sentence. And then they move to the other story. And again, they only have to write one sentence. And then they go back to the other one and they have to write one sentence. I've done this with the students again and again, and they end up writing 2 pages or 3 pages. But it doesn't feel like it because every time they only write one sentence. And of course, the great thing is curiosity. They don't know how the story will unfold. So I start thinking, for example, I start thinking about the romantic story and how she feels attracted to David, and maybe she wants to kiss him and so on. And then my partner changes the story. And David reaches across to touch her, and she slaps his hand and so on. Damn, why did you change the story? You know, so it can be very funny to see how they do it, the students. Okay, and I'll quickly move to my third activity. The third activity is a speaking activity, not a writing activity. It's called the involving story. This was an activity that was demonstrated to us by Adrian Underhill, the TESOL conference. Once again, like the previous stories, it requires minimal preparation. This is what happens. Students work in pairs. Student A, student B. I hope Elena is there because she's muted herself.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. So student A, let's say it's my turn. So I think about the beginning of a story. Let's say I was getting ready for school, or I was playing computer games, about 3 or 4 sentences. For example, yesterday I was watching television at home and I was enjoying a beer. Suddenly there was the bell rang and so on. At this point, my partner throws a word. For example, they can say table. I have to use this word in my story. So I will say something, yeah, I was enjoying a beer, but I heard the bell rang and I was startled and I knocked the beer off the table. I got spilled on the floor. Damn, and I had to bring the mop in order to start cleaning. And then your partner throws another word and they say aeroplane. And I have to use this into the story, okay? Let me demonstrate. So before we start, student B writes down some words which are completely unrelated to each other.
Okay.
For example, piano or interesting or fly, yeah? Student A starts his story. And after some sentences, student B throws one of the words and student A has to incorporate it into the story. And this takes it in a totally different direction. Let me show you an example, and then I'm going to demonstrate with them. Here's an example. Student A, yesterday I packed my things and got ready to go to school. I was walking down the street when I saw a friend. And then student B says, piano. I was walking down the street when I saw a friend. He was playing the piano on the pavement. There were many people around. I went closer. I was really surprised. And then your friend says, interesting. Yeah, I was really surprised. I thought the music he was playing was interesting. I never knew he had a talent for music. Yeah. And then they throw you another word, fly. I didn't know he had a talent for music. I told him that he should fly to Germany and audition for one of the orchestras there. You get the idea. And then your friend might call out another word, dragon. As he was flying to Germany, he looked out of the window and he saw a big dragon flying next to the airplane. You know, it can be completely crazy. So let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Elene, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let's move this so it's not distracted.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's start.
So I said, after 3 or 4 sentences, so Elene has prepared her words. And after 3 or 4 sentences, she's going to throw one at me.
Nick, you should be ready.
So once upon a time, there was a young girl and she lived in the forest with a pet dog. It was a lovely dog. And they had a lovely time there in the forest because they liked it there.
Dinosaur.
Yes, one day, as they were taking a walk in the forest, they saw a huge dinosaur. And they said, the girl said, "Oh my God, is it a carnivore or a herbivore? Is the dinosaur going to eat us?" But the dog,
Lorry.
yes, Lorry. Okay, so the dog stepped in front of the girl to protect her from the dinosaur. But then she heard a loud noise. She looked behind her, and it was a big lorry. And the dinosaur saw the lorry and ran away because it was scared.
COVID-19.
Yes, and then they said, "Oh, thank God, we have escaped from the dinosaur." But wait a minute, she thought, the dinosaur was not wearing his mask, and wasn't it afraid of COVID-19? What if he got a fine? And she reached into the bag and put on her mask and so on. Next one.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he said, this is fascinating, isn't it? What happened to me today? She told the dog. And she went back home because she wanted to write this fascinating story for her teacher. I said that would be her homework for the day.
Banana.
You get the idea. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The story is completely crazy, of course. But students love this idea. So let me tell you what I like about this story. Students enjoy the challenge. Okay. They enjoy the challenge because they don't know what the next word is going to be. Okay, and they have to adjust, they have to cope somehow. Okay. And the other thing is you can adjust the level of difficulty. Now, people think that this would be very difficult to do in English, but this is not the case, right? You can demonstrate it to your students in Georgian first, so they can get the hang of it, and then they can switch to English. By the way, you can adjust the level of difficulty by telling student B to use easy word. So if the word is dinosaur, that's difficult to use. But if it was a normal word, like, I don't know, table or pencil or car, that would be easier to incorporate in the story. the best thing about this is the incongruity element, because the stories are completely crazy. Students love this. They love the unpredictability, and they love that the way the story changes direction all the time, right? Notice, by the way, that although this is a speaking activity, we can also turn it into a writing activity as well afterwards, because once they have finished, the students can actually write the story without the prompt words, and they can give the story to the classmates, and the classmate can then try to guess the words. Okay, for example, if I gave you this story without the red words, would you be able to tell that the words given to me by student B was piano and interesting and fly? So this is a challenge for the other students, right? Okay, these were my 3 activities. I hope I haven't exceeded my time. Thank you very much. I'd like to say a few closing words.
Thank you.
Stories are our mother tongue. Okay, we communicate in stories, we think in stories. Our entire world consists of stories. Indeed, as somebody once said, the universe is made of stories, not of atoms. So keep this in mind next time you're making your lesson plan. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Helen.
Tico.
As I'm just sharing the link for the
Nick,
question.
thank you for these amazing and very practical activities, really.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Helen. I've practiced some of them in my teaching, and they really work. Thanks a lot. And guys, please go to this link and answer just 3 questions from the webinar. After that, we will send you certificates.
Thank you indeed. Thanks everybody for your great responses. Thank you so much, Elena and Nick, for your wonderful
Thank you so much, Tico. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you.
And the shared activities. I'm sure the resources will truly benefit your teaching and ensure your students' success. And thank you again for joining. You can open the link as Elena mentioned.
Yes. Please go to the link and answer the questions, and we will receive your emails that the proof that you have really participated in our webinar. Thank you so much.
I'm already answering the questions.
Okay. Thank you, Tico. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ellen.
Bye. Bye. Okay, I won't be disconnected because I'm waiting for you to, all of you to open the link, please. Get to the link. Thank you, Irina, for joining us. Very happy to see you here. Thank you, Chen. Thank you, Naniko. Thank you, everybody.